13. The Mirror That Trapped Souls. In 1899, a wealthy family in New Orleans purchased a grand mirror rumored to be cursed. It was said that the mirror could trap the souls of anyone who died in its reflection. Over the years, multiple family members died in mysterious ways, their faces appearing briefly in the mirror before vanishing. In 1952, the last owner, Maria, covered the mirror with a cloth after seeing her deceased husband's face staring back at her. The mirror was sold at an estate sale in 1997 and ended up in a museum. Visitors reported seeing shadowy figures in the glass and hearing faint whispers when standing near it. The museum eventually placed the mirror in storage, but staff members claim they still hear knocking sounds coming from its crate. The woods near Ravensshire are known for their haunting melody. Locals warn against entering after dusk, as many who hear the mysterious whistling never return. In 2016, a hiker named Laura decided to explore the woods despite the warnings. As she ventured deeper, she heard a soft, melodic whistle that seemed to follow her. She tried to ignore it, but the sound grew louder, drowning out her thoughts. Laura's body was found weeks later, deep in the forest. Her face was frozen in terror, and her journal revealed chilling details. She wrote that she saw shadowy figures moving between the trees and felt something watching her. Her last entry read, "The whistling is calling me. I can't resist anymore." Locals believe the whistling comes from an ancient spirit that lures people into the woods, feeding on their fear. Black Ridge Asylum was shut down in the 1950s after a fire gutted the building, killing dozens of patients and staff. Though abandoned for decades, locals reported strange noises, echoing screams, the clatter of medical instruments, and ghostly whispers emanating from the ruins. In 2003, a group of urban explorers entered the asylum to document its eerie remains. They found charred patient files, rusted medical tools, and scorched walls covered in cryptic writing. One explorer, Jason, discovered a locked door labeled Ward 13, which wasn't on the asylum's blueprints. As he pried it open, he was overcome with a rancid smell. Inside were burnt gurneys and the skeletal remains of patients chained to their beds. As they tried to leave, Jason screamed, claiming he saw shadowy figures following them. When they reviewed their footage later, they spotted a blackened, ghostly hand reaching out toward Jason in one frame. He was never the same after that night, plagued by nightmares of the asylum until his mysterious death in 2007. In 1910, a storm battered the coast of Maine, trapping the lighthouse keeper, William Marsh, and his wife on the isolated island. Supplies ran low, and the couple grew desperate. When the Coast Guard arrived weeks later, they found William rocking in a chair, humming a lullaby, with no sign of his wife. Legend says that William killed her to survive, but his guilt consumed him. Residents claim they saw the light flicker at odd hours, long after William was removed from the island. In 1995, a renovation crew was sent to restore the lighthouse. They reported hearing a man crying and seeing a shadowy figure pacing the tower. One worker fell from the top of the lighthouse, claiming he was pushed by unseen hands. Locals say the ghost of William Marsh is still there, forever seeking forgiveness for his deadly sins. In 1978, 16-year-old Annabelle Carter attended a seance with friends, trying to summon the spirit of her deceased grandmother. Instead, something else came through. Annabelle began experiencing violent seizures and speaking in languages she didn't know. Objects around her moved on their own, and her once bright eyes turned pitch black during her episodes. Her family called in a priest, who claimed Annabelle was possessed by a demonic entity. The exorcism lasted 3 days, during which the demon revealed it had attached itself to Annabelle during the seance. After the ritual, Annabelle was left with a scar in the shape of a claw across her chest, a chilling reminder of what had taken place. The house where the possession occurred was abandoned, but visitors report hearing Annabelle's voice crying for help, and some even claim they've seen her shadow in the windows. Blue Hollow Lake is a picturesque spot in Vermont, but locals avoid it after dark. The legend began in the 1800s, when a young couple drowned in the lake on their wedding night. Since then, sightings of ghostly figures in wedding attire have plagued the area. In 2011, 3 teenagers decided to camp by the lake despite warnings. At midnight, they heard splashing sounds but saw no one in the water. Then came the laughter, a deep, echoing sound that sent chills down their spines. One of them, Sarah, claimed she saw a pale bride walking across the lake's surface. By morning, Sarah was missing. Her friends found her wedding ring on the shore, though she'd never owned one. Her body was recovered weeks later, with waterlogged lungs and a look of sheer terror frozen on her face. When the Parker family moved into their Victorian home in Ohio, they discovered a locked attic door. Inside were old photographs, broken furniture, and a rocking chair that seemed to move on its own. One night, 10-year-old Emma said she saw a woman in a black dress sitting in the chair, humming a lullaby. Her parents dismissed it as imagination until the humming grew louder and more frequent. The father set up a camera, hoping to catch the source of the noises. The footage showed the rocking chair moving violently, and for a split second, the figure of a woman appeared behind it. They later learned that a previous owner had hanged herself in the attic after losing her child. The Parkers moved out within a month. In 2015, a man named Carlos reported a chilling encounter at his home in El Paso, Texas. Late at night, 2 children knocked on his door, asking to come inside. They were pale and spoke in a monotone voice, but their most striking feature was their pitch-black eyes. Carlos felt an overwhelming sense of dread and refused to let them in. The children became angry, pounding on the door and demanding entry. After minutes of terror, they vanished without a trace. Carlos's neighbors later admitted they'd seen the same children and experienced unexplainable misfortunes afterward. Experts believe these beings are not human but entities feeding on fear. Witnesses often report feeling physically ill for weeks after an encounter.